Good evening, you're watching Estuary TV News. Coming up, diamonds are a girl's best friend, but what do you do with old broken jewellery? We make our weekly inquiry into the matter of where exactly is the mayor, and I'll be reviewing the week's regional press with Mark Fenty from the social organisation. Welcome to Estuary TV News, I'm Hugh Richards. First of all, it's over to Emma Lingard for the news headlines.
Hello. Legal action could be taken against the Airco Arena management team if a newly laid 3G pitch is not removed. Hull City Council has written to EAB Alam requesting immediate removal of the turf which was laid without its consent. The council also plans to apply for planning permission itself for a dome pitch should the Premier League decide the arena does not comply with Academy 2 requirements. If you find yourself needing to visit A&E in Hull, you may now be admitted to a world-class emergency department. Doors open to the new ward in Hull Royal Infirmary on Wednesday. Built at a total cost of £12 million, is the culmination of 7 years of hard work, which now means the most seriously ill patients can be cared for in some of the best facilities the NHS has to offer.
To have designed and then built and delivered this around a working major inner city hospital is a feat in itself. But you know, it's such a proud moment for myself and for the team just to be stood here and to see what we're about to work in. I think there's such a level of enthusiasm from the staff when they've seen and had the tours and orientation sessions within this area, that there's a real upbeat feeling that the level of delivery of care by the staff with their level of professionalism is a new step change for Hull.
Two artists from Manchester are showing people in Scunthorpe what you can do when you lose one half of a pair of earrings. For some, one part of a pair can attach great sentimental value, as one of the artists, Lauren Sager, explains.
And came up with an idea of an artwork which they could be part of by contributing something. So we decided to call it the Chandelier of Lost Earrings and invite people to send us the single earring that's left when the other half of the pair has disappeared. And women, some men, but mostly women, hang on to those for a very long time because they're very attached to them for personal reasons. And so we had a kind of amnesty for those earrings, and we got 3,500 sent to us and lots of stories attached. So this is a kind of a representation of all of those people's contributions.
And the exhibition opens this Saturday in the Scunthorpe 2021 Visual Arts Centre and runs until the middle of May. That's all for now. Bye.
I'm joined for the papers by Mark Fenty from the community project GOPA. Mark, welcome. Thank you very much for coming in.
Hello.
Tell me, first of all, before we look at the papers, what is GOPA?
We're a not-for-profit social enterprise and we work with many disadvantaged groups in the area, Hugh. We provide positive activities such as sport, fishing, we do archery, laser shooting, and we also teach a lot of media as well. So we work with quite a few of the schools locally. We work with a lot of support agencies for young people and families.
And GOPA stands for Get Hooked on Positive Activities.
That's right.
And the people you help may have been going down an undesirable route.
That's right. I mean, when we first started the project in May 2007, it was all about working with young people that were at risk of crime. We've moved on a lot since then. We used fishing as the main tool of engagement, but now of course we've broadened our range of positive activities, and we've actually we can now do that for a much wider audience. It's not just focused on young people.
And how many people do you think you help?
Over a year we on average we work with over 1,000, and that's quite amazing for such a small and unfunded organisation.
Yeah, absolutely wonderful. And there are a few older people that you can help as well with physical activities, things like
Yes, we're looking at social isolation projects, we're looking at intergenerational projects, all using some of our positive activities, and we're working with a lot of other great social enterprises and working on some brand new projects, so watch this space.
Excellent, Mark. Your first story, I think, is in the Grimsby Telegraph, perhaps about young people who don't have enough to do.
Yes, it is, unfortunately. We have a front page, which is not good news for young people, really. The Rock Foundation is a superb social enterprise. It's a charity which helps lots and lots of vulnerable people who need their services. And I know Pam
they've been vandalised.
Very well. Yes. Strangely enough, Hugh, they operate from a building that's only 2 or 3 years ago my project started in, so I know the building very well. And it suffered at that time with some vandalism, but it's so sad to hear now that some of these young people have no respect for that organisation.
So what's the solution? How do these people get retrained, as it were, reset?
I think there's some issues regarding, is there enough for young people to do that's positive in their life? That's really what we do, and a number of others in the area. We see that right now most leisure centres, not leisure centres, but youth centres have unfortunately closed down. We need, therefore, to make sure that these young people are really engaging in something that's healthy and positive in their lifestyle. And we don't need to see this sort of thing, because that organisation is very limited on its funds, its ability to get these things repaired. And I know Pam and her team, and they work extraordinarily hard. So it is a shame.
Talking of positive activities, a story here from the Hull Daily Mail. World's beers now on your doorstep. The story is a couple is setting up a bar in Hull, bringing beer in from all over the world. Belgium, of course, capital of beer making.
Absolutely.
I confess I don't really like Belgian beers. They all taste a bit too fruity to me. But they're bringing in beers from all over the world to offer something different to the drinkers of Hull.
I think it's a terrific story. I mean, surely the Hull is going to be the cultural centre and all that stuff, and I think
City of Culture 2017.
This fits in. I mean, it's a great opportunity. I go to Hull quite a bit. In fact, I shall be going there in a week or two's time when Hull are playing Liverpool. And it's really nice to have this sort of thing. We can make an effort to go along and to have a go of all these wonderful beers.
And beer is becoming to the British as wine is to the French, as it were, and that we can become sort of connoisseurs and appreciate the subtleties and the differences. We're not just taking the same old sort of mucky stuff from the pumps that we've always been used to drinking. There are all sorts of British beers.
Every now and then we find gems, and it's up to us to go along to these places and try it out.
One other Hull story I just want to mention, Les Paul event going on in Hull, the great guitar player, of course, and the Les Paul guitar, and that's going to be celebrated by a charity event in the Marsh and the Mash-up in Princess Avenue.
Again,
as well.
It's brilliant. Again, it fits into the same sort of ethos. I mean, we now need more specialist entertainment. What better, thing that we can go along and see somebody using extraordinary guitars, and we can all enjoy.
We'll go on and talk about a few more stories in a moment. Mark, please don't go away.
Okay.
You're watching Estuary TV News. A little later, we go onto the streets to ask how important are the election manifestos published this week. And Dan Kemp will bring you all the sports news. Time now for our weekly feature, Where's the Mayor? This time, though, where's a Lord Mayor? Mary Glue, Lord Mayor of Hull and Admiral of the Humber.
And the Lord Mayor's Charity Ball, Friday the 17th. A huge fundraising event, a very sparkly, lovely event. On Sunday, Holy Trinity Church service regarding the task force and the commemorating the merchant ships and the part they played in the Falklands War, and to commemorate the bravery of those men and the crews that went out on the Norland and all the merchant ships that joined the naval ships and went along and helped win the Falklands War. There's a number of events happening in the following week. We've got a lunch for Siemens. Obviously, we want the industry to be tremendously successful, and I'm sure it will. We're all looking forward to the factory getting going and opening. We have things like the Photographic Society exhibition. They make £5 Blossom celebration event, which is about giving the children or giving the schools a small amount of money and allowing the children to come up with business ideas, be young entrepreneurs. So I'm delighted to open that event. On Wednesday, I'm attending the literary lunch and I'm meeting a local author, Valerie Wood. There's a citizenship ceremony going on in the Guildhall. On Thursday, I'm meeting the Royal Engineers, or a representative from the Royal Engineers.
What do you do when you lose one earring? It can be difficult to let go of the other one, especially when jewellery can be of great sentimental value. This might not be a universal experience. Two artists from Manchester are now showing people in Scunthorpe what you can do with those old odds and ends in the gem box. Richard Morris sparkles.
A new exhibit opening this weekend at Scunthorpe 2021 Visual Arts Centre is already drawing a lot of interest. The piece is made from 3,500 lost earrings and for the two artists culminates 2 years of work.
And came up with an idea of an artwork which they could be part of by contributing something. So we decided to call it the Chandelier of Lost Earrings and invite people to send us the single earring that's left when the other half of the pair has disappeared. And women, some men, but mostly women, hang on to those for a very long time because they're very attached to them for personal reasons. And so we had a kind of amnesty for those earrings, and we got 3,500 sent to us and lots of stories attached. So this is a kind of a representation of all of those people's contributions.
Possible future venues for the installation include London and Manchester. Lawrence says it's a great way to breathe a new lease of life into something with great sentimental value.
Over and over again, what people said to us was they loved their earrings but didn't want to throw them away, and now there was a real sense of kind of putting it with all the other earrings into a family of earrings that other people could see and appreciate, and they felt really good then about letting go of their earring. And often they're not very valuable. You know, sometimes they're just ones from shops, you know, or the market, or £1.50, but however valuable they were, people just very attached to them.
And some of the earrings have certainly come from further afield.
I believe that one of them was from New Zealand. We had a lot of earrings that started off in the northwest and it actually covered all of the United Kingdom. But what was really interesting is we did a Twitter campaign to let people know about it, and it's where we got tweets from all over the world. So it was an idea that resonated with lots and lots of people.
The general election contest has focused media attention on Grimsby over the last few weeks as a key seat to watch. With the major parties having launched their manifestos, we asked people whether these documents would help them make up their minds. Some are undecided and others had clear views on what they wanted from a political manifesto.
Voting Labour. I think they do a lot for the poor people. I think Conservatives are only for the rich people. Couldn't care less about the health service. We all need the health service, it's very important. I've got dialysis without it. I've been dead years ago with that National Health Service. Labour look for the people. And I've worked damn hard all my life and I've given volunteer work. We're seriously ill. I've given lots to the community. And I think Labour is a wonderful party and it's my hero.
Well, they all promise you everything until they get in. Then they take it all off you. That's what I've noticed anyway. I might go for finish a loony party like me.
They don't put their own point forward, they just try and say what all the other parties aren't doing. So that's enough for them.
Well, I don't know really. No.
What are your thoughts?
My thoughts?
Yeah.
Well, I don't think the country's as good as it was.
And why?
Well, why?
Yeah.
Well, we shouldn't be in Europe for a kick-off. I don't think we should. We want to be out of it. We've never been so poor.
I'm not sure, because I've never voted in my life.
Why?
Just, no one's offered me what I wanted.
Okay, and what is it you're after?
Basically, everything what I want, no one's offering me. Like, you know, 0-hour contracts, no one's offering, you know, to cancel that because they shouldn't be allowed. You know, the NHS cuts and everything, you know, for the council and stuff like that, you know, cutting money for the council and stuff like, you know.
Doubt it.
Why?
Because they're not doing anything for the town. Anything we've had of a historic interest has always been taken away from us. When they changed the boundaries years ago, everything went to Hull.
I think so. I hope so. Well, the country's in such a mess now.
Mark Fenty is still with me for the newspapers. Mark, you found a story about patients being consulted about healthcare.
I think this is a really, really good story, and it's very, it's very in the election market at the moment, isn't it? The health services is undergoing major problems, major issues. What I do like to see here is the fact that we're starting to have this consultation with residents, with patients, so that they can help to shape what sort of services they want. I know in our sector, the social enterprise sector, we are also working with the CCG and the local authority.
Clinical Commissioning Group.
The Clinical Commissioning Group. We're also looking at how we might work together as a social sector to also help shape the healthcare sector. So it's really, really quite an important issue.
This is a story from the Grimsby Telegraph about one of the practices, GPs' practices in Grimsby especially. If patients are trying to shape how they're being treated, what's the point of having doctors?
Well, you need professional guidance all the time. I think it's important that at least the doctors and the clinical commissioning groups, they're now receptive at least to listening. And I think that's something that we haven't seen too much.
But why do we think that patients know more about medicine than people who've trained for 7 years and have X number of years of experience in it?
Well, I think sometimes the doctors, unfortunately, now are under so much pressure, so much enormous pressure to look after the red tape side of their business. They forget what the patient is saying. Now they're being told, you best listen.
Right, okay. Let me move on to another story here. I think this one is in the Market Raisin Mail. And you were particularly pleased with this one. Funding boost brings park new attractions. This is a Rand farm near Market Raisin.
Yeah, I think it's so important to have attractions that attract the family. And I know, as a parent, how important it was when my youngsters were small to go to places like Rand Farm Park. And it's great to hear that places like that are now able to access money to expand that and hopefully encourage lots more people to go along, because I used to go there 4, 5, 6 times a year.
And it's wonderful just to get to be able to take children, not just children, adults as well, to get out into the countryside and to have that sort of experience of a fantastic day out and just enjoy it. Talking of wonderful days out, and as we approach the summer, I hope, you found another story, Grimsby Telegraph, I think, about Britain in Bloom.
Yes, again, it's a great story. Britain in Bloom has been hugely successful throughout the UK, but particularly in our area where we have the Cleethorpes, the Grimsby, the Immingham in Blooms. It's a terrific opportunity for volunteers to get together to make our town look a much nicer place. And I think we all feel better as a result.
When you say our town, you're from Grimsby, and we're talking about Grimsby. Cleethorpes has a fantastically glorious history in Britain in Bloom, doesn't it?
It does, and I think it's won some awards.
Many
awards.
Regularly.
So it's great to see, and I know Elaine and her team, we do get to meet every now and then. It's just brilliant news to see all these volunteers clubbing together to help. And indeed, the launch was at Pennell's,
yes,
the garden centre. So it's nice to see businesses supporting them as well.
And the great thing with Britain in Bloom is that it's not the wonderful display that you get through the spring and the summer. No. What hurts and what counts is the hard work you put in through the winter when it's horrible and cold and wet and nasty.
It is.
Right, now, a slightly more depressing story from the Louth Leader, but it's a perennial story, if I may use a gardening phrase, that runs throughout the country and throughout the years. Parking.
It's one of my pet hates, Hugh. We all know that within cities we want to go and visit them to go do our shopping, and yet the burden of car parking charges is just astronomical, and it does prevent people from going in and helping those businesses, and those businesses need customers. And of course, if we look a little wider, we also can look at places like hospitals which charge. And again, I'm totally against these sorts of things. It's really, really wrong. It's a revenue.
Well, it is. East Lincolnshire District Council confirms it expects to bank £1.63 million surplus from car parking.
That's quite unbelievable, and it is not right. The businesses are suffering. They need all the help and support they can get to get people into those towns.
One more vehicular story, this from the Driffield tractor competition. Tractor race around the villages, raising money for various charities, specifically the firefighters charities and the Steps in Preschool Driffield. Would you race a tractor?
I've never been on a tractor. I've been to a museum in Yorkshire, which was fabulous actually, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. So good luck.
That's something to look forward to trying then. Mark, thank you very much for coming, and we must stop there because it is now time for the sports with Dan Kemp.
As the season's conclusion draws into sight, we have another weekend of fixtures to look forward to. Scunthorpe United travel to Colchester United tomorrow, looking to cement their place in League One for next season. The Iron have 4 games remaining this term and have a 4-point cushion over 21st place Notts County. And you can hear from assistant manager Ned Kelly in a moment. Grimsby Town are now concentrating on hitting form for the playoffs. The Mariners are at Southport tomorrow, 6 points behind league leaders Barnet with 2 games to play. Christian Jolly and Gregor Robertson are set to miss out due to injury, but Josh Gowling returns. And North Ferriby United travel to Leamington. The Villagers have lost their last 4 games, conceding 4 goals in each. Back to Scunthorpe, and Ned Kelly has said the team will take nothing for granted when they come up against relegation-threatened Colchester United tomorrow. The Essex club are second bottom of the division, 4 points from safety.
They've had a couple of disappointing results. And before that, they had two good victories. So we won't be underestimating anything just because of the result the other day from the Chesterfield game. And we'll do what we normally do and set up to try and win the game.
In Rugby League, it's Challenge Cup weekend and both Hull FC and KR have away ties. The Red and Whites travel to Championship Bradford Bulls, who were relegated from Super League last season. Meanwhile, Hull FC are at the Sheffield Eagles. Both games kick off at 3 o'clock on Sunday afternoon. And finally, back to football. Cleethorpes Town and Bridlington Town both have away matches in the Northern Counties Premier on Saturday, whilst Barton Town Old Boys are at home to Shore Lane Aquaforce. A league down, there's a Lincolnshire derby between Bottisford and Winterton, while Hall Road are at Clipston. Grimsby Borough and Louth both have home games. And that's all for the sport.
That's all we have time for, I'm afraid. Please get in contact via details on the screen. Until next week, good evening.
Estuary TV's weather, sponsored by Hornsby's, celebrating 100 years in buses.
Hello and welcome to Estuary TV's weather. Saturday is going to be dry with some further warm sunny spells and northeasterly breeze. Probably the brighter of the 2 weekend days with more in the way of sunshine, maximum temperature of 13 degrees Celsius. Sunday will remain dry, although likely cloudier than of late and breezy at times.
Estuary TV's weather, sponsored by Hornsby's, celebrating 100 years in buses.